A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a dramatic display of public sentiment, tens of thousands of Israelis took to the streets on Sunday, marking one of the largest protests seen in the 22 months since the outbreak of war with Hamas. The demonstrations, organized primarily by families of hostages still held in Gaza, aimed to draw attention to the urgent need for a deal to secure their release, while expressing deep frustration over the Israeli government's plans for a new military offensive in densely populated areas of Gaza. As the protests unfolded, the atmosphere was charged with emotion and urgency, with many participants fearing that further military action could jeopardize the lives of the remaining hostages. Estimates from organizers suggested that upwards of 500,000 people participated in the rallies, which took place at various locations, including outside the homes of politicians and military headquarters, as well as on major roadways. Protesters blocked traffic, lit bonfires, and even caused some businesses to close in solidarity with the cause. The Israeli police reported that at least 38 individuals were arrested during the demonstrations. "We don't win a war over the bodies of hostages," chanted the protesters, a sentiment echoed by former Israeli military and intelligence leaders who have begun to advocate for a negotiated settlement to end the ongoing conflict. Among the voices at the forefront of the protests was Arbel Yehoud, a former hostage who spoke passionately about the need for a deal that would bring all hostages home at once. Her boyfriend, Ariel Cuneo, is among the 50 Israelis believed to be held captive by Hamas, with 20 of them thought to be alive. The urgency of the protests was palpable as families of hostages expressed their fears that the expanded military offensive could lead to the loss of their loved ones. "Every bullet, every strike, could be the one to end their life," one protester warned, calling for an immediate ceasefire and a resolution to the hostage crisis. The protests were not only about the hostages. They also reflected a growing discontent with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the situation. Many protesters held up signs calling on U.S. President Donald Trump to intervene and help secure a resolution, indicating a desire for international support in their struggle. Nama Gild, a protester, voiced her frustration with the government's approach, stating, "We don't want to be here every weekend, we just want them home." As the protests spread across the country, major highways, including the crucial Highway 1 connecting Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, were blocked, leading to further confrontations with police. Netanyahu, addressing the protests during a government meeting, criticized the demonstrators, claiming that calls for an end to the war without a definitive defeat of Hamas would only serve to empower the group and prolong the conflict. His comments came amid a backdrop of ongoing military operations in Gaza, where Israeli forces continued their campaign against Hamas, with Military Chief Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir emphasizing that the hostages were always at the forefront of their strategy. The situation in Gaza remains dire, with reports indicating that over 61,000 Palestinians have been killed since the conflict began. As the war nears its second anniversary, the humanitarian crisis continues to escalate, with hundreds of thousands of Gazans being displaced by ongoing hostilities. Hamas, for its part, condemned the Israeli military actions as a form of genocide and criticized the plans for the displacement of civilians under the guise of humanitarian aid. In a statement, the group described the situation as a blatant violation of international law, calling on the international community to act against what they termed as war crimes. The protests in Israel, therefore, represent not only a cry for the safe return of hostages, but also a broader call for an end to the violence that has engulfed the region for far too long. As families continue to wait for news of their loved ones, the question remains, how much longer can the cycle of violence persist before a lasting resolution is found? That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.